Hey guys, so I get a lot of questions revolving around this whole idea of getting burnt out, getting demotivated, struggling to practice, getting stuck in a rut, what have you. There's loads of different euphemisms for it, but basically all amounts to the same thing, which is just getting stuck and not knowing what the hell to do about it. And really this really comes about because people just kind of lose sight of why the hell they picked up the damn guitar in the first place. And they just get stuck in this mire, this sludge, this fetid swamp of confusion and practicing exercises to no avail and wondering why they're practicing exercises when they're not really getting anything out of it. And they end up in this place which in the past I've dubbed obligation-based practice, right? Which is basically where you're forcing yourself to practice, hence the word obligation. You feel obliged to keep up your skill level so that you don't get skill fade. And this is where a lot of you guys end up, right? So you're in this place where you've gone to work, put in a full day, come home, and you're already tired mentally and physically, and now you're presented with this idea of you've got this whole practice regimen to squeeze in. Now you've got to go through this whole list of exercises. Oh, not forgetting the warm-up as well, which if you're really unlucky, you've stumbled into this place in your life where you've convinced yourself that you cannot play properly until you've warmed up for a specific amount of time, a specific way, and it's become like so regimented in your head that you've actually convinced yourself that unless you do X, Y, and Z, you physically will not be able to play. And I've met a lot of people that are in that place. They have convinced themselves that they physically cannot do the job until they've done this, that, and that. And basically they've convinced themselves of that. They've actually caused themselves to end up in that situation through that association. Just because they've had a couple of days maybe where they were a bit sloppy or they've had an off day, they now believe that they have to do this complex ritual to even get warmed up before they even get to the practicing part, and that's not right. Nobody needs to go through such a delicate, dedicated ritual just to play the damn guitar. Nobody, all right? And if you're in that state, you've convinced yourself. That's hypochondria. That's guitar hypochondria, right? That's not true. You do not need to do that. And the reason I can say that with such authority is I have been there myself. I have done that to myself, and I know that I did that. That's how powerful our minds are, guys. I know I harp back onto this so many times for good reason, because if you've watched my videos before, you know how much stock I place in the importance of our mental processes, our mindsets, and that you can actually convince yourself that you can't do something just as much as you can convince yourself that you can do something. Right, okay, anyway, I've sort of gone off track a little bit, but what I'm getting to is, if you're one of those people that believe you need like 30 minutes to warm up, then that's half an hour right away of time you've got to find. You're already mentally tired, and now you've got, say, a 2 or 3 hour practice session laid out for you with like 50 exercises, 10 minutes on this, 10 minutes on that. No wonder so many people get burnt out, right? That is, to me, that's like hell. Absolute hell, having to do something like that. And it's no wonder that people get stuck, get pissed off, and just either they give up on the things that they want to learn and say that it was never meant to be, it's not for them, or they just stay stuck, keep doing it again and again and again, beating their head against a brick wall just because at least they're not giving up, right? And if you are in that place, it's good that you haven't given up, you're keeping going. But there is also better news in the fact that you don't have to keep doing that, right? It's not the answer to just keep stuck in this mire, this self-torture of going through these regimented practice regimes and this obligated practice. So there you go. So a lot of people are stuck there in this place where they are practicing out of obligation because they just want to maintain what they've got and they don't want to lose it. So imagine you've done a full day wherever, at work or whatever, and now you've got this massive practice session you've got to fit in, no wonder the love's gone, right? There's no room for the passion and the enjoyment in your guitar playing anymore. Now it's service. It's a chore, you know. And a lot of people do years of this, and time served doesn't mean progress. And that's a key element that I want to get through to a lot of people. Time served doesn't mean it does not equate for the level of gains or progress that you would expect. So it doesn't matter if you've been playing for 20 years or 30 years. The time served itself doesn't mean that that's 20 years of progress. It just means 20 years, and during that period you've been a guitar player, right? And some of it might have been this obligation-based practice. So burnout, if you're in that state of obligation-based practice, that's the number one cause of burnout, because really you've lost the music, you've lost the passion, you've lost the reasons why you picked up the guitar in the first place. Let's be honest, guys, not one of us ever picked up the guitar with the dream of spending the rest of our life practicing exercises. We picked up the guitar because of Eddie Van Halen, Jimi Hendrix, Malmsteen, Michael Schenker, Joe Satriani, Gary Moore. Insert your favourite guitar player here, right? Maybe it wasn't even a famous guitar player. Maybe it was an album you found. You found an LP. That's another word for a record for the younger viewers here. There's things which used to exist, you know. Or you saw someone playing guitar live at a gig somewhere, right? But there was a reason that you got attracted to the instrument, and it nearly always had something to do with how cool it sounded or how cool the person looked playing it. So your passion, the way you were drawn to that instrument had nothing to do with mechanical repetition of exercises. That's just something that you've ended up having to do at some point to acquire technique. Now, I am not down on this, because mechanical repetition is a necessary part of learning to play guitar. But if you really lose that musical element of what attracted to you in the guitar in the first place, you're going to end up in this shitty place of burnout and obligation-based practice. And you're going to wonder why you're not motivated, you know. So when you see stuff, you're like, you know, there's that thing I've always wanted to be able to do, but I just can't be bothered, I haven't got the time. I'm still trying to, you know, get better at alternate picking, still trying to get, you know, 10, 20 beats per minute faster at this or that, the other. So it's no wonder that you get pissed off. And also a lot of it is people get burnt out because they're trying to do everything. And this is something I encounter so much, I cannot tell you. I see this so much, especially with younger players. And obviously their enthusiasm for the instrument means that they want to be able to do everything. But if you've been in this situation yourself and come out the other side of it successfully, you'll know where I'm going to go with this, which is the fact that when you're in that place of, I just want to be able to do everything, you're going to be doing what I think is a Zen proverb, which is you can't chase two rabbits at once, right? You cannot chase two rabbits at once, because let's face it, you're not going to catch either of them. And that's what's going on when people want to just be able to do everything. And it usually happens when people discover flashy guitar playing, you know, Instagram, YouTube. There's loads of guitar players on there that are doing amazing stuff. And to these up-and-coming players, they see that and it's like, why can't I do that? I want to be able to do what that guy does or that dude over there does. And not understanding the fact that, well, actually, you've got to get some pretty good foundations of timing, some decent control over your tone, basic fundamentals of playing. I mean, but it's not just the young people, right? I know people that have been playing longer than I've been alive, and they still haven't got hammer-ons and pull-offs sorted. They've got no time and control over their fingers, and it's like these basics get skipped over. Just because something has the word basic, it doesn't mean it's boring or it's of little use. It's actually the most important part of the guitar playing, because everything is built on it. You know, houses are built on foundations. Houses are not built on a tiny little precipice, right? They're built on a sturdy foundation. And if you get that right, you don't have to do it again. You know, you just build on it over the years. And then the enjoyment of playing guitar the way you want to, all those songs you want to learn, all those solos you want to learn, you can do that because you've actually got the physical technique to do that. You know, your fingers are not going to let you down. So it doesn't matter whether you're trying to play the solo to Stairway to Heaven or Freebird, you know, classic rock stuff, right? I'm not talking about outrageous levels of shred. You know, don't think this is only applicable to the flash kids out there. No, I'm talking about you if you're a classic rock guy or a blues guy or a jazz guy. It doesn't matter. Everything requires a level of technical dexterity. So like I said, a lot of classic rock stuff. Seriously, if you haven't got some decent hammers and pulls, forget about it, right? It's not going to happen. You know, so you can spend 20 years bumming through a really dodgy version of, you know, an Eagles tune or Leonard Skinner or something like that, but you're never really playing it right, and you're never getting that technical dexterity you need. So like I said, you don't have to be Satriani or Malmsteen, but you do need the level of technical dexterity, right? And if you're not giving yourself that, you're not going to be able to enjoy your guitar playing to its fullest, because you're going to be butting your head up against the wall every time. So you'll learn a bit of tab, or you'll read something, have a guitar mag. Remember those guys? Yeah, guitar magazines. Those were the days. You couldn't ask the guys that had done the guitar tab for tips. You just had the tab. Maybe you had an audio CD with it as well. At least like in the 90s and early 2000s they were doing that. And then you just had to work it out from there. You know, you couldn't just go to the guy that had done the column and say, oh, hey, you know that bit with the upstroke and the downstroke, you know, should I be doing this with my hand? There was none of that. You just had to figure it out and hope that you were getting it right. But it's a great teacher because you focus on the sound of how it sounds. So that's why that sort of stuff is so good. But what was I saying? Yeah. So if you're just acquiring really minimal levels of technique but not really getting the control that you need over your fingers and over your picking technique, then you just rush ahead and you start learning fragments of songs and solos, and maybe you even get into a band, in a pub band or club band, and you're playing gigs, but the level you're at is you just about make it through. You're okay-ish, right, as long as you don't look too closely. But if you ever want more than that, it's not going to work. Your level of just making through, just making it up as it goes along, isn't going to see you further when you want to learn stuff that's more technically demanding, you see. So that's why it's important to acquire technique, but once you've acquired a decent level of technique, that thing alone, which is what we're going to move into next, isn't going to sustain you. So another reason for burnout and lack of motivation is staying stuck on that train of trying to level up your technique. Okay, so this is similar to obligation-based practice, but obligation-based practice can just mean anything that you're practicing just to keep your skill level where it is. But people who get stuck on the train of needing to get physical progress constantly and to get the BPMs faster, higher, all that sort of stuff, you need to understand that making progress on the guitar is not linear. Right, so you're going to get periods where you go up like that, but then you're going to get plateaus where nothing really happens, and then you might get another little boost upwards, get another plateau again. That plateau might last for months, it might even last for years, and then you get another boost again, right? But in between all of that stuff that isn't technique based, you've got all the other really cool shit about guitar. Yeah, all the phrasing, all the really cool exciting stuff, the tone control, the building your tone, sounding better, graduating from a tiny little practice amp to a decent setup and getting a tone which you really enjoy, which sounds better. Yeah, stuff like that. But if you get just stuck on the train of just acquiring technique and staying in that place, you got to know this. It's rewarding for a period of time, right? But at some point the reward dissipates and you're sort of wondering why you're bored and you don't really want to pick up the guitar anymore, all right? It is only exciting for a period of time. And yes, picking up the guitar and just having the challenge of getting better at something is its own reward, right? But for a lot of people, that is a very finite period of time and it will run out. And at some point, chasing technique isn't a reward anymore. It becomes more like obligation-based practice then, where it's just like a service, time served, a chore, and that's when you need to get back in touch with the reasons you picked up the guitar in the first place and remind yourself of the sounds you enjoy, the music you enjoy, and finding out what it is that gives you the most energy. So things either suck your energy or they give you energy, and the things that give you energy are the ones that you really want to sort of take note of and say, wow, you know, when I do that thing, I really feel like motivated to want to keep doing more of that thing, you know. And it's those little avenues you want to sort of break off and explore and go down those little avenues, whatever they are. It might be phrasing based, Yeah, it might be a technique thing, all right? Maybe a technique you haven't done before and you think, oh, I really like that idea, it's interesting to me, I'm going to explore that. But it takes courage to do that, right? Because it requires you to go off the beaten path. And if you've been doing this obligation-based practice, these practice regimens for so long, you might be a bit worried about breaking out of that routine and going down somewhere which is unplanned. And a lot of people are worried about that. You know, the path less traveled is less traveled because people are afraid of doing it, right? So when it comes to being creative and following something which excites you about your guitar playing, you may have to really kick yourself up the ass and just say, look, all this obligation-based practice, it's not going anywhere. You've been doing it that way for ages. You can always go back to it if you want to, but let's just explore this really cool thing for now and see where it leads. Yeah? So that's something you need to do. You know, the things which excite you and you enjoy doing, explore those avenues. You need the enjoyment back in your guitar playing, right? And be creative. If you haven't created before, a lot of that is fear-based as well, because you believe you're not a creative person. That's shit. Everyone is a creative person. You just need to start doing it, and it doesn't have to be amazing. You just need to start doing it. It's what I call a musical decision, right? A musical decision is exactly what it sounds like. It's you deciding whether something sounds good or not. It's like, right, I'm going to put an A5 chord with a C5 chord and then a D5 chord. That's a musical decision right there. Okay, a group of notes that you decide to put together is another musical decision. Timing, tempo, all of these things are musical decisions. So if you start doing things like that, you're already a creator, right? Bringing something from nothing and making it real. That's creation. And not enough people exercise that skill, which everybody has locked within them. Yeah, don't believe that shit about people are born with it or they're not. Don't do that. Don't be a disservice to yourself or any other musician out there. You know, people do not get handed this stuff on a plate. Surgeons don't get handed this stuff on a plate. Engineers, doctors, architects, nobody handed these people things on a plate. Nobody ever goes to these people and say, oh, well, you were born with it. What? No, they don't do that, right? Everybody acknowledges that these people studied and dedicated their time, but for some reason when it's guitar playing or any musical endeavor, why do we think it's okay to just say that, oh, that's all woo-woo, it's all magic, you know, we're all gifted that by a fairy godmother? Why is that? Why is it with a musical endeavor people think it's woo-woo and magic, but if it's a physical craft like engineering, it's like, well, no, that's not magic, he studied, right? Don't believe that lie about people are given this stuff at birth. No, they're not given this stuff at birth. You know, they work at it, and people do more of what they enjoy. If you enjoy something, you're going to do it willingly rather than being forced to do it. And that's what I'm getting to, guys. If you're in this place of burnout, overwhelm, you're frustrated with your guitar playing, and you don't know what to do with it, remember, what you enjoy is what you're going to do willingly. You need to find these things that you enjoy. Don't practice something because you think you should know that stuff. Like, don't force yourself to practice like hybrid picking just because you think you should do it. You know, do the things you enjoy. That's how people become great guitar players. You know, notice that the greats out there, whoever your favorite guitar players are or whoever you regard as great, you'll notice that they weren't masters of everything, right? They had things that they were just brilliant at. Okay, so don't be afraid of following things that you enjoy and then having things that you can't do, because that's what makes people great. You know, Schenker is amazing, bending, vibrato, hammer-ons, but no one's ever going to say that Schenker's like the best alternate picker in the world. I'm not saying he can't do it, but I'm saying you're not going to put him up there with alternate picking greats, because other people excel at those techniques, whether Schenker excels at the things that he excels at. The same with Yngwie Malmsteen. You know, he's got his techniques which he excels at, but no one's going to put him up there with Brett Garsed when it comes to hybrid picking, right? Do you see where I'm going with this, right? Being great at something doesn't mean being able to do everything. It means following the things you enjoy, that you love, that you gravitate towards, and getting really fucking good at those things, because that's what you enjoy. That's how you get out of burnout. I know this has been a long, rambly video, But this is a subject which so many of you get caught up in this world of thinking you've got to be able to do everything because you're seeing these pricks on Instagram all the time who can do all this shit, and you're bombarded left and right with, oh, here's another whiz kid, and you think that you've got to be able to do all that shit. Why? You're not playing guitar to impress people. You're playing the guitar because something about it pulled you to it, right? So remind yourself what that is. Get back in touch with the enjoyment of guitar, all right? And guys, look, if any of you are on Facebook, right, I'm doing a free workshop. It starts on the 6th, the 16th of October, which I think is, when is that? What day are we on today? Sunday, Monday? We're on Monday today, aren't we? Yeah. Well, it starts on the 16th of October. Anyway, get your ass over to that. I'll put a link in the description below, and that's all about kickstarting your creativity, all right? It's done for you. I've laid out the steps that you need to take. There are 5 things you need to be doing, all right, that are going to wake up your creativity. So if you want to bring yourself out of burnout and give yourself a reason to play guitar again, that's going to do it. So come along to that. You know it's going to be no nonsense, but it's going to be really manageable for you, all right? So if you're somebody who's afraid of being creative or you don't think that you're creative, remember what I said. It's not a lottery of birth. It's just a thing. It's a skill that we all have, right? And if you practice it, you get better at it. It's just that simple, right? So come along to that. And as I said, the link will be below. And I want to see you there, guys, all right? Because I can't do a workshop on YouTube, but I can do a workshop on Facebook. So come along to that. But most importantly, guys, never forget the reasons you picked up the guitar. It wasn't to spend the rest of your life practicing exercises, all right? So find out what it is, get back in touch with the enjoyment, and actually bring yourself out of these slumps and just fucking enjoy playing the guitar again, all right? There's nothing more to say to that. Just fucking enjoy playing the guitar again. See you next time.